Explicit voice of America's Blackout Brief Daily.
Welcome. Hello, I am Explicit. This is Explicit Voice of America, and this is the Blackout Brief Daily. Angie Nixon didn't just win a Senate primary in Florida. She opened a $15 million wound in the Democratic establishment. The party's chosen candidate had the money, the national profile, and Washington's blessing. Florida Democrats gave the black progressive a 12-point victory anyway. Almost nobody saw this coming. A late poll showed Alex Vindman ahead by 10 points. Federal filings show he raised nearly $17 for every dollar Nixon raised. He spent more than $2 million advertising in the primary. She spent less than $60,000. Then the votes arrived.
Yes. So, Don, I'm not going to lie. We knew we were going to win. We just didn't know we were going to win by that much. I am a former union organizer. I'm a community organizer. And what this campaign came down to was good old-fashioned grassroots organizing. And so I want folks to know that I am not new to this. I'm true to this. I've actually unseated an incumbent before. I've been outspent 5-1. And I did all of that while I was 9 months pregnant with COVID. And I like to tell people I'm not 9 months pregnant and I don't have COVID. So I'm definitely going to be working really, really hard. But what's more important to highlight is the fact that people are just fed up right now. They are tired of politicians like unelected Ashley Moody and Donald Trump, who are so out of touch with everyday people, and they're actually working less, those politicians. Meanwhile, they're getting richer. I mean, Donald Trump's net worth has increased over $4 billion since he's been back in office, and Ashley Moody's net worth continues to go up as well. And meanwhile, folks, everyday working people are working harder than ever with nothing to show for it.
So that was Nixon speaking with Don Lemon this morning. She says she knew the organizing was there, although even she didn't expect such a large margin. Nixon won by more than 152,000 votes in unofficial returns. She carried Jacksonville, Orlando, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Hillsborough. No squeaker explains it. One loyal hometown didn't drag a weak candidate over the line here. A political class discovered its money couldn't buy the answer. Listen, today's charge is simple. Power loves public consent when it can purchase, manage, or punish the choices. This morning, we have 3 stories about what happens when that control fails. Florida voters rejected the candidate Washington selected for them. Black immigrants can lose legal protection while their discrimination claims remain alive. American sanctions can reach judges and prosecutors at an international court. The institution and weapons differ, but each one demands deference from the governed without earning it. Look, it's Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. Here are the 5 things that matter today. 1. Last night, Angie Nixon won Florida's Democratic primary for the United States Senate. Unofficial returns put her at 56% against Alex Vindman's 44%. Vindman had the endorsement of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. He also had a fundraising advantage of more than $15 million. Florida Democrats chose Nixon anyway. 2. Yesterday, a federal judge cleared the final count barrier to ending temporary protected status for more than 5,000 Ethiopians. The ruling cleared the way for TPS and its linked work authorization to end. A constitutional discrimination claim can continue, but it doesn't preserve the status. 3. Today would have been Nolan Wells' 19th birthday. Nolan was 18 when he traveled to Horn Island during an Independence Day trip and did not return with his group. His body was recovered 2 days later. Tonight, his families and supporters will gather at Greater St. John AME Church in Biloxi for a national prayer rally. This birthday arrives with new legal pressure, but still no public answer explaining how Nolan died. On Monday, the NAACP's Office of General Counsel joined the family's legal team. The family also asked prosecutors to schedule a joint forensic examination of Nolan's still unexamined phone this week. The Congressional Black Caucus requested an independent federal review. The Justice Department received that request, but no federal review has been publicly announced. Mississippi's official autopsy is complete, but remains unreleased pending grand jury review. The family's independent autopsy determined neither the cause nor manner of death. No one has been charged in Nolan's death, and no suspect has been publicly identified. More than 6 weeks later, his family is still asking, what happened to Nolan Wells? 4. Today, a visiting Texas judge removed District Judge John Roach from Karmelo Anthony's remaining post-trial proceedings. Roach presided over Anthony's murder trial. After the verdict, he said on television that the jury got it right. Anthony was convicted of killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf and is serving 35 years. He argued self-defense, and jurors rejected it. Visiting Judge Sid Harrell said he believed Roach could be fair. He still ruled that an outside observer could reasonably question Roach's impartiality. His conviction remains in place while a different judge prepares to hear Anthony's new trial request tomorrow. 5. Yesterday, the United States sanctioned the president of the International Criminal Court and one of its senior trial lawyers. Their property within American reach can be frozen. The dollar system becomes the enforcement arm of a political dispute over war crimes jurisdiction. That right there is the opening map. Money, immigration status, investigative secrecy, judicial impartiality, and access to banking. Those levers decide who can resist, work, pay, and remain. Paid subscriptions sustain this desk. $50 a day funds the daily operating expenses and keeps the pain away. And actually, that's 5 people donating as little as $10, or 10 people donating even a smaller amount, as little as $5. You can do that with Buy Me a Coffee. The links are in the description. You can subscribe at explicit.com as well and support this desk. All of the links are in the description. Now, let us return to Florida and ask what exactly Angie Nixon upset. Alex Vindman entered this race with every credential national Democrats are trained to recognize. He was a decorated Army officer and a familiar anti-Trump figure. National donors and institutional support gave him enough money to campaign as though the primary were already over. Vindman declined to debate Nixon. Much of his public argument was already aimed at Republican Senator Ashley Moody. The posture reveals how the establishment understood the race. The nomination looked like a checkpoint before Ashley Moody. Now, Nixon entered with something Washington had undervalued. The Jacksonville state representative has spent years building relationships across Florida. That included communities, national campaigns usually visit only through television. Her message was not a resume presentation. It was rent, wages, school, healthcare, corporate power, and the cost of being ignored. Nixon had support from our revolution and progressive members of Congress. She didn't have the party's national campaign arm behind her. Her national progressive support never matched Vindman's party machinery, and Florida organizers carried this race anyway. Look at the scale. Federal filings show Vindman raised roughly $16.3 million. Nixon raised just under $1 million. That gap was more than $15.2 million. Axios reported that Vindman spent over $2 million on primary advertising. Nixon spent under $60,000. A late poll had Vindman at 34% and Nixon at 24%. 41% of voters were undecided. The political class looked at that picture and they saw inevitability. The undecided voters looked at their ballot and they made a decision. Unofficial returns show Nixon winning 705,000 votes. Vindman won about 553,000. She took over 56% statewide. The final spread was 12.1 percentage points. She won more than 80% in Duval County. She won about 68% in Orange County. She also won clear majorities in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Hillsborough. That geographic spread right there matters. Jacksonville loyalty alone cannot explain it. Neither can one ideological enclave. Nixon assembled a statewide rebuke. Afterward, Nixon kept coming back to the organizing. The establishment's theory was that fundraising capacity could stand in for political capacity. It treated donor access as evidence of voter demand. It assumed a national biography would outweigh a local record. It assumed anti-Trump recognition was enough of an affirmative program. Florida voters separated those signals from actual demand, even while recognizing that campaigns still need money, resources, and reach. What voters rejected was the idea that money should close the argument before they speak. Now, let us keep the claim honest. One primary does not mean the entire Democratic establishment collapsed last night. Establishment-backed candidates won important Florida races, including House contests, okay? Nixon also faces a difficult general election against appointed Republican Senator Ashley Moody. Florida remains a Republican-leaning state. Let's not forget that. A July University of North Florida poll had Moody ahead of Nixon by 8 points. The same poll had Moody ahead of Vindman by 10. That single poll is not a November forecast. It does puncture the argument that Vindman was plainly the more electable choice. Nixon must now build a general election coalition. She has to raise money without allowing money to rewrite the campaign that won. She must turn a primary organization into statewide infrastructure. She also has to survive a Republican machine that will racialize and nationalize her immediately. A Substacker that subscribes to me, Diane from St. Petersburg, sent us a fundraising text Nixon's campaign circulated today, and I just want to show my appreciation to her for flagging it. Nixon writes that she will stand trial in 1 month over her protest of Florida's new congressional map. That is the campaign's description. The court posture is narrower, okay? So let us get it right. Capitol Police arrested Nixon on May 15th after a 5-hour sit-in at Governor Ron DeSantis' office. She stayed after the building closed and police ordered her to leave. She was protesting a map Republican legislatures passed the same day the Supreme Court decided Louisiana versus Callias. Nixon faces 1 count of trespass in a structure or conveyance. The other charge is resisting an officer without violence. Both are pending misdemeanors. A Leon County judge scheduled docket sounding and a possible trial for the week beginning September 21st. The case could still be dismissed, delayed, settled, or resolved by a plea before a jury trial begins. Nixon's text says she faces 2 years in prison. That figure is a conditional combined ceiling, not a likely sentence. To reach 2 years, Both convictions would need 1 year minimums, and a judge would have to impose them consecutively. Nixon also warns that Republicans may try to jail her to stop the campaign. DeSantis publicly celebrated her arrest. There is documented political hostility. There is no public evidence that Republican officials directed this prosecution. Look, here is what is established. Florida's Democratic nominee may campaign while defending herself in criminal court over a voting rights protest. Washington's chosen candidate lost at the ballot box. Nixon's next fight may run through both the campaign trail and a county courtroom. Listen, if she wins in November, Nixon would become Florida's first Black United States senator. That historic possibility carries a mechanical lesson about how nominees are chosen. The National Democratic Senate establishment shows whom to back through its preferred signals. Donors, resume, national media, and institutional confidence all pointed one way. Florida's Democratic primary electorate sent them somewhere else. Those voters understood the choice, and their judgment deferred from Washington's. So, yes, the establishment is bleeding today because its candidate selection machinery failed under almost perfect conditions. Nearly 17 times the fundraising advantage produced a 12-point defeat. Florida forced the bill into public view. Our next anchor starts with a court order and ends inside a care facility. Yesterday, United States District Judge Brian Murphy lifted the last court block protecting more than 5,000 Ethiopians under temporary protected status. TPS had allowed them to live and work legally in the United States. The protection existed because returning to Ethiopia was considered unsafe. The judge allowed a constitutional claim to continue. That claim alleges the termination was infected by racial or national origin hostility. The ruling still cleared the way for TPS and its linked work authorization to end while that claim moves forward. Think about that sequence. The people challenging possible discrimination can lose their jobs before a court resolves whether discrimination shaped the decision. They can become vulnerable to removal while arguing that the removal policy violated equal protection. The case remains alive, but it does not keep the immigration status in place. The gap lets administrative power outrun judicial review. Government can change a person's status before it wins the legal argument. An expired work permit forces an employer to act while rent and medicine keep arriving. Exposure to removal alters each trip outside the house, regardless of what remains pending on the room's docket. Another immigration ruling yesterday makes the contrast plain. A federal appeals court kept protections in place at 8 Quaker, Sikh, and Baptist worship sites. The court found the new enforcement policy likely burdened religious exercise. One congregation reported a 66% drop in English language class attendance. People stayed away because an enforcement encounter had become imaginable. The injunction is narrow. It protects the 8 plaintiff sites, not every church, temple, shelter, school, or hospital. Still, the ruling recognized something government often pretends not to see. Enforcement can empty a room before an agent arrests anyone.
My community is predominantly Haitian. Both of my parents are Haitian immigrants. The ending of TPS has brought a lot of stress on my community members, especially like my church band members, the people who are really involved in like helping out with the community. People are afraid to go outside. Some of them will go outside and say, you know, we have to make a living. We have to work, we have to get food, we have to support our family. It's put a lot of the community members that I know in a really tough predicament.
Okay, that there is what a status decision sounds like inside a household. Going to work or buying groceries can become a risk calculation. Now, follow this machinery from immigration court into healthcare. New reporting today counted about 21,000 Haitian TPS holders working as caregivers and nursing assistants. Together, they served an estimated 77,000 patients. Haitian TPS ended on July 27. The labor consequences are now becoming visible. Joaniwo, a New York nonprofit serving people with disabilities, lost nearly 24 Haitian workers. That was roughly 7% of its staff. These were direct care jobs paying around $20 an hour. They helped disabled people eat, bathe, travel, and live with dignity. The phrase immigration crackdown sounds abstract until someone cannot get out of bed. This is buried harm because the government counts the status it terminated. It rarely counts the hands that status allowed to work. The damage reaches the immigrant worker, disabled adult, older patient, and exhausted family caregiver. It reaches the small provider already unable to fill a difficult job at a low wage. Florida's healthcare industry warned about this pressure and sought exemptions. Florida also holds the country's largest Haitian community. The administration chose the clean line of termination over the messy reality of dependence. The country has built essential care on workers it treats as temporary. Their labor is permanent enough for the night shift. Their legal presence is temporary enough to erase with a notice. That arrangement is useful to power. Temporary status keeps workers necessary and insecure at the same time. Employers receive labor, patients receive care, and politicians preserve the threat of removal. When protection ends, the government describes it as immigration policy. The damage travels through disability care, family budgets, hospitals, and local economies. When black immigrant labor disappears from the headline, its presence becomes an emergency inside homes and care facilities. This is the immigration pressure point. A right that ends before its challenge is heard is not stable protection. It is permission on a timer. Before our final anchor, here is the buried harm. I'm going to name it rapid fire here, so keep up. Yesterday, a federal appeals court upheld the Superfund designation for two toxic forever chemicals called PFOA and PFOS. That ruling allows the government to seek cleanup costs from responsible polluters. 7 business groups challenged the rule. Surprise, surprise. And the court rejected them. The EPA can still decide who to pursue. The legal principle survived, which is that taxpayers do not have to inherit every corporate cleanup bill. In Toledo, black voters and other residents packed a Mississippi redistricting hearing last night. Their message was overwhelmingly clear. Do not draw the congressional map. Residents warned that a new map could split black communities and weaken majority black districts. Only half of the legislative committee's 20 members even attended. The hearing creates a record. It doesn't guarantee lawmakers will listen. In South Florida, another election result cuts against the celebration. Debbie Wasserman Schultz won the Democratic nomination in a redrawn district represented by black Democrats since 1992. 4 black opponents split a majority of the vote. Republican map-making pushed a white former party chair out of her old district. Establishment strength helped her cross the line here with less than half the vote. Nixon's victory wounded one machine. That machine still worked elsewhere. In Gary, Indiana, thousands of customers still lacked power yesterday. That was 1 week after a major storm. Gary is majority black. Residents, churches, and black-owned businesses were providing meals, oxygen refills, charging, and shelter. The mayor declared an emergency. The government deployed the guard, and NIPSCO that's NIPSCO, helped provide meals. Recovery still hadn't reached everyone who depends on powered medical equipment. In Houston, organizers unveiled the city's first LGBTQ affirming emergency youth center on Monday. Asia's House opens September 1st for young people between 15 and 17. Its 6 bedrooms will serve youth of every sexuality and gender identity. The shelter is named for Asia Janae Foster, a black transgender Houstonian killed in 2020. The project shows a community building missing public infrastructure with its own hands. In Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz froze new state reviews, permits, and mineral leases for sulfide mining near the boundary waters. The order also ends state cooperations with the federal review while lawmakers consider a permanent ban. Ojibwe, another pronunciation puzzle here. Ojibwe Treaty communities and wild rice waters sit closest to the risk. The protection is temporary. It expires 19 days after Walz leaves office unless legislation replaces it. Now we come to our final anchor. Yesterday, the United States sanctioned 2 officials at the International Criminal Court, otherwise known as the ICC. One is Tomoko Akane, the court's president, and a Japanese judge. The other is Abdoulaye Sie, a senior Senegalese trial lawyer. The sanctions freeze property within American jurisdiction. They also block many transactions that touch the United States financial system. The government issued a short wind-down period for existing dealings. After that, banks and service providers face the risk of sanctions exposure. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the court has no legitimate authority over Americans or Israelis. Neither the United States nor Israel is an ICC member. The court says it has territorial jurisdiction because Palestine joined the treaty. That legal conflict has been running for years. Seye worked on the case involving the arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The court's Afghanistan work has also angered Washington. The sanctions cannot settle the jurisdictional dispute. They raise the practical cost of participating in the court. Washington is using American financial reach against the people doing the court's work. Judges and prosecutors in The Hague still depend on banks that fear Washington and systems built around the dollar. Sanctions can complicate contracts, insurance, technology services, and ordinary payments. Their deterrent reaches beyond the 2 names on the list. Future investigators, potential witnesses, and service providers will notice what happened. Institutions learn where the tripwires, so to speak, are. Washington describes this as protection from a court it considers illegitimate, while the ICC calls it an attack on judicial independence. You do not have to settle every question about the ICC to see this machinery. A superpower is using control over financial access to discipline and accountability institution. The move pressures the court through infrastructure instead of persuasion. Now, place today's 3 anchors beside one another. In Florida, party institutions tried to decide which candidate voters should trust. The voters rejected their conclusion. In immigration court, a discrimination claim remains alive while legal protection dies. Administrative speed becomes its own verdict. At the ICC, the United States cannot fire the judges, but it can make the financial world around them harder to use. Money, status, banking, those are different instruments, but each one controls the space in which refusal becomes possible. Angie Nixon's victory matters because the instrument failed in public. Voters had the money, endorsements, and national profile sitting directly in front of them. They still chose someone else. That is why this result is more dangerous to the establishment than a close loss. A close loss can become a turnout story. A 12-point loss after a $15 million advantage becomes an operating system failure. There is no magic formula here because campaigns still need money. Nixon's wins showed what money cannot replace, which is an organization rooted in people's lives. Vindman's spending only made that mistake more expensive. Nixon now has to prove the model can travel into November. Washington now has to decide whether support means listening or merely writing a check. The rest of us should watch which lesson the party chooses. If this brief gave you a map you didn't get anywhere else, share it, restack it, send this episode to one person who needs the machinery named. Paid subscriptions are the primary way to this newsroom survives. Subscribe at explicit.com/subscribe. And thank you to every paid subscriber already carrying this work. And hey, look, if a subscription is not the right fit, Buy Me a Coffee is the flexible backstop. Both of those links are in the description. The establishment can call it an upset, but Florida already counted it as a warning.